What's up and welcome back to the channel. The name is Ninja Knight. Make sure you like, share, subscribe and hit the notification bell up above for future uploads and check out the link posted down below. Thank you. So here I have an image from Flame Toys US and this was put up today to the excitement of a number of individuals. This looks absolutely outstanding. They say plenty of questions over the new Megazord. Here's some answers. What's it made of? It's made with a mix of die-cast parts. Is this a model kit? It is not a model kit. Follow us at Flame Toys US on IG, FB or Twitter for future details. So this is something that is hugely interesting and I'm going to talk about this in specifics in terms of what I think about this going forward. And what does this mean? Well, first of all, I thought that we would have seen a Megazord, particularly a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Megazord, in the Lightning Collection line, or perhaps maybe with a HasLab sort of design behind it that was very reminiscent of the original. What I'm seeing here though is something very interesting. It's something that's caught an awful lot of people out of left field. I don't think anybody really seen this coming, and I certainly don't think anybody seen this design coming. What do I think about this design? Well, I'm going to break down what I think about this over this video. So we'll just zoom in and have a look at this. And Flame Toys here have in the corner, and it's very small and it's very hard to see, but they have transform and combine. So this would also tell us that this is going to be something that is able to split apart into the individual dinosaur modes, and then in and itself then can replicate each of those modes going forward. So I think when you're looking at this though, I'm going to start from the bottom and I'm going to look at the Triceratops Zord. So the Triceratops Zord looks very nice. It doesn't look like it's anything out of the ordinary in terms of there being tank treads for the wheels, and this is something that will travel on. With this being made with diecast, it's very interesting to see like if this will follow the Soul of Chogokin line in terms of where the diecast is going to be in. And I have to say the design that they've used in this, it seems like they've modernized the sword quite a bit into what their interpretation was of it. And I think Flame Toys is actually known for doing that with certain Transformers, and they do work with Hasbro now and again on these products. I have to say that the Triceratops Zord looks very nice. It's a very aggressive looking Zord in terms of the way it looks here, particularly with the horns and the way the angles are cut into it along with the sort of beak and then the horn. I think that this looks absolutely outstanding. Now as you can see, it's very reminiscent of the 90s version, the way it's shaped and the way it looks, and these look like the tank treads that are here, and I have to say overall I'm pretty impressed with this. On the left hand side here with the Saber-Tooth Tiger, and again this really does follow the MMPR original way of transforming in terms of the legs fold in, there's wheels on the bottom that we're going to be able to probably get the original mode then before they were able to transform into the fully formed Megazord that they were able to wheel around on, like a kind of tank mode, and I think that they will probably utilise this within this one. I do like the Saber-Tooth Tiger's head. It looks aggressive again, the angles that are there quite nice, and this is only a drawing now at the minute, so I'm looking forward to seeing what we get to see in a prototype and then in the finished product itself. I think that this could be something that would really stand out amongst an awful lot of collectors. As you can see here, it folds up like it used to in terms of the front legs folding in, and you also then have the wheels there that are along for the Saber-Tooth Tiger. I do like the way the teeth look in the Saber-Tooth Tiger's mouth, and I think that that is really cool, and obviously it follows the original transformation and being able to swing around on itself. What's interesting about this though is that the T-Rex tail, as you can see there, is coming down through the bottom and then lying on the ground. This is something that we haven't quite seen in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Zord, because we're quite used to seeing the tail fold up and then fold basically the tip down, so that would have a very clean backpack. So it's unusual to see the T-Rex Zord have this. But I have to say, when you're looking up at the Zord, then that's kind of where things start to change. And it's something that we haven't seen before in terms of what's going on with the Pterodactyl Zord and along with the T-Rex Zord. So first of all, I'm going to start off with the Mastodon before I break into that, because again, it's something that I don't think has ultimately or majorly changed since what we've seen before. So the Mastodon does make the arms. So I'm curious to see now, is it a Mastodon that splits in half and then goes into these sockets here, or is it kind of like the old way of doing things in terms of the Mastodon swings around the back, clips into the back, and there you have where the cannons are coming from here. That's something that I'm very interested in. I'm also very interested in if the hands are articulated the way they are. And this is something that I think maybe the articulation is going to play a big part on. As you can see here, we have the T-Rex mode. We can see the T-Rex claws here, and he makes up the bulk of the body. What's very interesting about this though is this part here on the chest. So as we all remember, this is where the Pterodactyl Zord forms the majority of the Zord, particularly the chest after it combines with the T-Rex. What this says to me is this the T-Rex mouth? What way is that going to work? Is this going to be a piece that clips off in itself and then it's going to clip in then when you have it in Megazord mode? Because as you can see here, this is very much so like teeth. So I'd be interested to see, is this part of the Pterodactyl Zord, or is it going to be something else? Is it going to be additional clip-on piece to kind of be reflective of the T-Rex Zord? What way is that going to work? I think the biggest thing that probably caught a lot of people off guard, and it certainly did catch me off guard, was the Pterodactyl Zord and the positioning of the Pterodactyl Zord, particularly with the wings at the back. I think that this is a great idea. This is a very nice update for the Megazord. And I think an awful lot of people, when they've been drawing concept art of the Zord, have always said, like, well, it would have made sense if it was able to fly, because most of the other Zords can fly or have an ability to fly in some way, shape or form. And I think that this is hugely interesting, particularly the size of the wings. I think that's really interesting. And I love the way the folds are in the wings as well too. If they were articulated and you were able to fold the wings in and out, that could be one of the most comprehensive Pterodactyl Zords that we've ever gotten. I think most people know, and when you look at the Pterodactyl Zord over the last couple of years, it's something that's very static, and there's only really been neck and head articulation, along with the wings being quite limited in itself, and it's more so like a jet kind of mode. But the fact that the wings are so big, it gives it an extra presence, and I think that that really does sort of go against how the waist kind of curves in, and then he looks quite bulky then, particularly across the chest and then into the legs. This is a very anime looking inspired Megazord. I will say one thing that I absolutely love is the head sculpt for this. The head sculpt is absolutely insane. Now, as you can see here from this horn here, it's possible, looking at this, that the head possibly combines with the head of the Pterodactyl Zord, because I think that that's possibly the horn that's been made there is from the Pterodactyl Zord by the way it forms down here. So maybe the Pterodactyl Zord has been flipped around and basically plugs in like that and then folds up. We'll have to wait and see until we get more images, but I'm suspecting that that might be the way, given the way that that headpiece is kind of cut. I love the horns that are here on the Megazord's head. It's an iconic design, particularly this sort of three-horned head on the Megazord, along with the faceplate that we have here, and it's something that I've always really liked. I'm very much so looking forward to what the Tyrannosaurus Zord looks like here in its T-Rex mode. That for me is going to be the one that sets me really on this, or if not, I love the Megazord mode, but I want to see what the individual Zord modes look like for the Tyrannosaurus, the Pterodactyl, and the Mastodon. You can kind of guess what the Pterodactyl, you can kind of guess what the Saber-tooth Tiger and Triceratops are going to look like, but I would like to see the other Zords before I make a final decision on this. This is going to be quite expensive from what I understand. I think it's 500 plus for this, so this is something that people are saying to themselves already, whoa, that's an expensive piece of property to be owning. But I think this is something that's probably going to get produced, and it's not going to see a massive production run, I wouldn't say. And if it's successful, they'll go on and do other Zords like the Thunder Megazord, maybe Zeo, maybe something other than that. Now, what I'm going to say is this: I don't think people will understand that with this Zord, if they buy this Zord, it's going to immediately go to Zeo, or it's immediately going to go to Turbo. I don't think so. I think there'll be enough room to play that if they wanted to do the Dragon Zord, or some people will call him Dragon Caesar, and maybe even, I suppose, Titanus or King Brachion, I think the name for him is as well too. I think that would give them the option to do those two figures. I certainly think a Dragon Zord would be very possible. Now, when you look at the clips that are having along here, that would suggest to me that the ideas for a Dragon Zord, and particularly as we know, the Dragon Zord kind of goes over like a headpiece that has the machine guns down on each side. Is this a magnet that's going to be installed for the Dragon Zord, or is this some sort of clip system that they have already pre-prepared in for the Dragon Zord, or is this magnet just being used, or this clip system being used for the Mastodon itself to come back together and form the Mastodon Zord? I suppose time will tell. But I think that this is something that has really caught an awful lot of people by surprise. I personally love the design on it. I think that this might be them kind of teasing out what might come in the next couple of years, and if they make a Power Rangers movie, I think they're testing and they're looking to see what people are interested in. Are they interested in the way it looked in the old kind of 90s cartoon? Oh, not the cartoon, sorry. Even, well, I mean, I suppose you could say the comic has been a cartoon in which they've had them. There's been talk of an animated feature as well too recently. And if they do a movie, are they going to use the original Megazord, and what way would it look? They want to differentiate these things from what they look like in the 90s TV show, so you're going to have to give it more detail or more mechanics to it than you did in the 90s movie. An awful lot of people didn't like how the Zords looked in the recent movie, so I could see that point being taken on by them, that they're like, okay, we'll update it in some way. The wings across the back from the new movie was a good idea. It utilised the ability to fly if they wanted to with that Megazord, and I think that that's where they were going to go with it in the future if they had to continue with those movies. And I think that that design decision by putting the pterodactyl on the back, particularly with the wings, is a great one. Particularly as we all know, there are some winged villains, and the Megazord was always at a disadvantage by the fact that it couldn't really fly. So I think that now this is a perfect Megazord. It really reinstates that this is an extremely powerful Megazord. And I think if you think about this then, in terms of maybe the Dragonzord coming, could look absolutely insane with this type of detail. And then further on then, if you think about like the Thunder Megazord, I'd love to see a Thunder Megazord that was done like this with updated details, and it would be done insane in my opinion. A Wild Force Megazord would be something I would love to see as well too. I think that they would absolutely kill it with that one. I think that that one would be absolutely phenomenal. But I think overall this is something that caught an awful lot of people by surprise. You can see it's partnered with Hasbro here. This is something that they've decided to do rather than do a HasLab version of it. This would suggest to me maybe that this could be for the premium collector, and as opposed to, I mean, this in my opinion is probably not for people's children. This is for the collector. This is for people that were into the Soul of Chogokin, and because in my opinion the Soul of Chogokin did such a good job at doing this version of the Megazord, maybe Hasbro along with Flame Toys thought maybe we have to bring a new angle to this for people to buy it, because if you did the same thing as the Soul of Chogokin, I think an awful lot of people would have said to themselves, well, there's no real point in buying it. The fact that this includes diecast is a good start. It means then if it's heavy, it's going to hold the weight. I will say that I hope that they do reinforce that the hips along with the ratchets that are in it are strong enough along with the knees, because we do see with some items from Soul of Chogokin and other lines that when they include diecast, they do forget about the ratchet joints and the ball joints and stuff that are here, and that they have to hold all of this weight. So I do think that this is something that they need to think about. Flame Toys record is quite good in terms of what they've put out beforehand, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. I'm just really looking forward to seeing what the alternate forms look like for the Zords in their individual displays. I could be surprised. There could be some surprises that are in this that are completely different from what we've seen before. There's no image of the Power Sword with this, which is kind of interesting in itself. Why would you not put the Power Sword in that? Maybe this is just the first illustration to gather momentum and gather sort of interest. But I would like to see a Power Sword come along with this. It's entirely possible that the wings could form Power Sword. So as you can see here, these could be something that clip off and they forms a sword. I wouldn't be shocked with that. I wouldn't also be shocked that if the tail was the sword that they could plug out and it becomes the sword. I wouldn't be shocked at that whatsoever. But I think that this might be a way of Hasbro doing a number of things. It might be them looking and saying, well, do people like this design? This is maybe what we'll use in the movie. Do they like this configuration? Because as you know, Power Rangers fans, we all like the configurations that we know. And I mean, this is a different configuration than we're used to. So what do people think of this? Also as well, what are Hasbro going to do with this now in terms of if they're going to do a HasLab, and an awful lot of people have been asking Hasbro, they've been asking them for a HasLab Power Rangers item. Is it going to be some sort of Power Rangers weapon, maybe a helmet, maybe a suit? A lot of people, myself included, have been asking for a Megazord, and I think a Megazord from HasLab, if it was even to work with the 6-inch figures, could be absolutely phenomenal, and you could have the cockpits there and the figures could fit into it. I don't know what way they're going to go with a HasLab one. I do think that they will see that there's going to be a profit within these figures if they decided to use these like Transformers and had certain, like, you know, the T-Rex here is a leader class, the Mastodon maybe a Voyager, the Pterodactyl is a Deluxe, and maybe the Triceratops and Sabertooth Tiger are Voyager class as well too. I think you'd be able to build a team up there and they'd be quite happy. That's an angle that Hasbro could go down as well too. And I would be surprised if they don't go down their angle, because I think when you look at an awful lot of the Zords over the years that we've had, you could fit them into those different kind of price points and certainly sell them very well from there. Overall, I'm looking forward to this though. The price is quite high for it, and with the 1/6 Power Rangers on it, I'm not sure if it's going to be something I'm going to buy into. I need to see more, and for me, it's going to be a wait and see on this one. I will say it looks phenomenal, and this is something that I would actually like to have in my collection, and I think it would be cool if it was standing beside the Soul of Chogokin Megazord, because it would be like, look, this is where we started, this is a modernized version of it, and it would be nice to have the two of them together. I think that would be kind of cool. But I think that this might be a test in the waters for Hasbro. I think it's a test in the waters for Flame Toys to see where the fan community's at the minute. Are they willing to spend this money? What do they think is of this design? Is it something that people are warming up to? Is it something that they could use in the movie? It's possible. Is it something that people are willing to pay for this? So what about a HasLab version? Will people jump on that? I think these are all numbers and metrics that they're going to go by over the next, I suppose, couple of months, because now that it's in the hands of John Warden, I think he's a very clever individual, a very shrewd individual in terms of he knows what the fans want, and he doesn't usually go outside the box on that one in terms of not doing anything that's absolutely out there. I mean, he's one of the people that was well behind the Unicron. He knew fans wanted that. He's a big fan of the 1986 movie. He's talked about the generational stuff that's happened in Power Rangers. They know that MMPR is the most powerful and most well-known and most beloved brand. Now, I know an awful lot of people won't agree with me on that. And I love different seasons of Power Rangers, but there's no getting by the fact that MMPR is the most powerful in terms of most people know it, and it's the most recognisable. So I think if Hasbro were to do a HasLab, and certainly starting off with a line like this, it's going to be with MMPR. I know an awful lot of people would be disappointed and would have liked to see other seasons first, and you all have your beloved seasons, and that's fantastic. But I think that this was a good move to make. I like the modernisation of it. I like the configuration of it. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next. And maybe this is one to save for. I think this, personally, I'm going to say this is a buy rather than a pass if the money is there. Because there's an awful lot of stuff coming out this year. And you can't buy everything, I suppose. So that's where I'm at with this one. Anyway, drop a comment below. What do you think of this Megazord? What do you think of the configuration? What do you think of the price of this item? Would you be willing to pay over 400, 500, maybe even 700 for this item? What do you think would be the optimal price for this? What do you think of the diecast that's going to be used within this figure? Do you think that's a good idea, or do you think that that's a bad idea? Do you think that diecast is something that these companies use to try and sell and not an awful lot of people care about? Would you share the same concerns with me in terms of the diecast? Maybe if it's put in the wrong places, the weight could be unevenly distributed and this could cause problems. Do you own any Flame Toys figures, and what's your experience with them so far? Are they good quality or are they not? I don't own any of them, so I'm not sure at this moment in time what the quality is like with them. What do you think of the updated looks for each of the Zords? Do you think it's going to be something that's going to be carried on, or do you think that this is something that looks aggressive and it really tickles your fancy? Because I have to say, the way it looks like it could battle as many monsters as possible, and it would do so no problem. Do you also think that the lack of a power sword being shown here is something that it might be critical of, or do you think that this is just very early concept art and that I'm nitpicking a little bit too much? Is there anything that you change about this design, or are you very much so happy to see this? I know an awful lot of people that are absolute purists would be like, no, change it, I want it back to the original way it looked. But I think the way it looks is really, really nice, and I think the way it's even proportioned is a good idea. It looks like it's going to be proportioned well. It looks like the legs are particularly like boots that they're going to take the weight, and that should be good. And are you looking forward to seeing what the Tyrannosaurus, Mastodon and Pterodactyl Zords look like, as well as I am? What kind of articulation as well too is this going to have? That's another big question that I have. Would that be the same for you? And what kind of articulation would you like to see in each of the Zord modes? Is there any particular things you would like to see? And would you like to see maybe some cockpits designed for this, and maybe have some miniature figures that are included with this, particularly for the price? I'm going to leave the video there. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, check out the link below, and I'll talk to you later. Good luck.